Hello, and welcome to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland show. The Parklands, that's something we're all looking forward to seeing as the spring comes, going out, bicycle, run, walk. And today we are talking about the Parklands and in particular about an advocacy effort of the Charles River Conservancy with somebody who's out there a lot. And today we have our very special guest, City Councillor and Vice Mayor Henrietta Davis. Welcome, Henrietta.
Thank you, Renata. It's a pleasure to be here.
Henrietta, you have been on the City Council for quite a few years, and you know Cambridge well. And you also know how to put the environment on the agenda. And so this has been a concern of yours for many years.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm delighted we can be together here this evening and talk about the parklands along the Charles River, and in particular a battle, an advocacy effort that the Charles River Conservancy is working on, and that is how to make it easier to travel along the Charles River as we see it here on this map. On both sides of the Charles River we have a pathway, a bicycle way, an inline skating way, a walking, running path. And at regular intervals this path is interrupted by bridges. And what we are working on is to make it easier for people to use that path, and so that there would be underpasses under more bridges. Right now there are underpasses under the Elliott Bridge, kind of between the Cambridge Boat Club and the stadium on both sides of the river. There's an underpass at the BU Bridge, a walkway that goes out into the water. And there is an underpass at the Mass Avenue, the Harvard Bridge, where you can go underneath on the Cambridge side. So that is what is in existence. And we are looking at adding underpasses at the Anderson Bridge, the Western Avenue Bridge, and the River Street Bridge. Now let's go to the pathways and what they are normally used for. We know that there are these 17 miles. Actually, it's 20 miles if you count off beyond the Watertown Dam, but 17 miles down the river from the Watertown Dam, where you can run along the river and you can bicycle, and the Conservancy has resurfaced some of these bicycle paths so it would be smoother. And you have attended some of the meetings.
Yes, I have.
About the underpasses, and we have some pictures here of what is proposed. What we're looking at on a Google Earth map here. And the yellow arrows show of how this underpass would look like at the Anderson Bridge. I know you spoke at the most recent hearing that was only a few days ago, and you might want to tell us the message you brought, which was a very helpful message.
Well, actually, you had prompted the City Council excuse me for coughing, to adopt a resolution, a policy order saying that we were in support of the idea of these underpasses. I think it was helpful to hear from the Conservancy because you're aware of what the timing is of things, so that got us moving. Bad timing on the cough, though.
Yes.
But at the meeting the other night, I had the opportunity to speak to the audience and also to the people from DEP about the importance of these underpasses.
The DEP is a state agency, the Department of Environmental Protection, and they are in charge of much of the permitting for those bridges.
That's right, and also I guess the people from the Highway Department were there. And the point was to, first of all, to say that the City Council is in support of these underpasses, that we believe that they are better in terms of enhancing the parkland and making the river more accessible to people. but also to talk about safety and to talk about how these intersections, there isn't anybody probably listening who thinks that these intersections are wonderful the way they are. Well, partly they're very congested. You have people, you have bicycles, you have motorcycles, you have cars, you have sometimes trucks all going through the intersection. And if we can quiet these intersections down, we can make them safer. But and I think that the safety is very important, and especially thinking about the Anderson Bridge. But I think it's equally important to be thinking in a visionary way about the future and more people bicycling and more people walking, and really taking seriously the opportunity to get from home to work or home to shopping along the river or home to wherever they're going, perhaps taking their kids to daycare centers on bicycles, making that safe. You know, I kind of wished I had said that, because many people take their kids to the daycare center on their bicycle. This would be a wonderful route for them, but it's not wonderful because of these intersections. So we really have an opportunity now to be thinking of the future. These bridges are being done for, I understand, 75 years, and the idea that you wouldn't take that opportunity now really is fairly, well, it's very short-sighted. It's really a shame, you know, to sort of stamp in place the status quo, which was put in place before people really took other means of transportation like bicycling seriously.
And we have a map here which shows the bicycle and pedestrian underpasses as they are exist right now. On the left, it shows the Elliott Bridge, which already has underpasses. But then at the Anderson Bridge, there is none. Western Avenue is none. River Street is none. The BU Bridge only has it on the Boston side. And in fact, there was a great missed opportunity to add an underpass at the BU Bridge. For a while, you could actually see through, so there was the way to put it through. But I think the advocates have learned that they really need to insist on these underpasses, otherwise they will not happen.
Well, I think they, as I think you had said to me earlier, things went very quickly for the BU Bridge, and for those of us who have for years gone over that bridge, that seemed like a really good idea because you could see through to the water. But now looking back, it seemed that it would have been worth spending just a little bit more time on the planning and the permitting to really look forward. And now we have that option with the Anderson Bridge and with River Street and Western Ave, and we really ought to just stand firm and say that this is something we believe is so important for the future. I mean, when I think about how the Harvard campus is moving so much of itself across to Allston and Brighton, that makes this Anderson Bridge intersection all the more critical to be made as to simplify it as much as possible,
because
which an underpass could do.
There will be even more bicyclists. Actually, there are some traffic counts that at certain hours there are as many bicyclists and pedestrians as there are cars. So that is, and of course they have much less space to move, and that is a big safety issue.
Yeah, it's a very cramped area, and therefore not attractive for people who are anything but of the fittest.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to go across there with a baby carriage, or perhaps you're one of those bicyclists with a baby on the back, this is not the intersection you want to be going through. And we did hear at the meeting some people who said, "Oh, I never go there. I always cross the river. I cross across the Anderson Bridge area on the other side of the river rather than deal with that intersection." So either side, I mean, both sides would be the very best. If we could make those safer, I think we would be really doing the right thing for the future and for the enhancement to bicycling as a mode of transportation, something which is clearly in the future. Now, I mean, one of the things I learned, I had the opportunity to learn about how the city of Stockholm was making itself more sustainable, and if there's anything they talked about loud and clear, it was about making bicycling really a serious option. Winter, summer, snow, what have you, and this idea that we're kind of hanging back and in the past really with only really truly providing for cars just doesn't make any sense.
Yes, and one aspect there is that we want to use it for transportation, but we all know that obesity is such a big issue, and if you make it easier and safer to bicycle and to run and to inline skate, I think that can also have a public health benefit.
Well, I believe this is the Paul Dudley White Walkway, a
Yes.
cardiologist who was
He was
first-
Eisenhower's cardiologist.
and he was the first to bring to, I think, the American public the whole idea that exercise was important to us all, and he dedicated this area to walking and bicycling. Well, walking, I think, was his thing.
Bicycling, yeah.
Bicycling
Oh,
too,
absolutely, yeah.
and here we are, 50 years later. We should be clear that this is still, if still very important, if not more important than it was even in that day.
Yeah, and we have some statistics